Hey, Jan.
Hi, Francesco.
We met in real life a few weeks ago for the first time.
Yeah. Mm.
That added something uh, to my experience of you, although I must say only a tiny bit, only a 10%.
Mm.
It's amazing how I deeply connected with you in this groups, maybe
Mm.
15 of them, and this
Mm.
podcast.
Mm.
Because again, when I met you in person, I felt like there wasn't so much more about you, but I don't know if
Mm.
was it similar for you? Was it different?
Yeah, I think it was quite similar. Uh, yeah, and it was nice to kind of have, I guess, being around your energy is was nice to experience, like
Mm.
in three dimensions, like. And yeah, all the great meals we had, and the ease of in the company, and the flow we were into sometimes when we were going around and exploring new places. And uh, it I guess it adds to the perception I had of you, from our
Mm.
talks. Yeah.
Hearing you speaking, yes, it definitely enriches the it enrich the relationship. Uh, um, Hearing you speak, I'm reminded that yeah, we shared experiences. We travel around. We enjoyed culture and cuisine.
Mm.
And there was an easiness. I agree. There was an easiness of. I think we both like our own space, but on that occasion we were also keen to explore.
Mm.
But it was fairly smooth
Mm.
to tell each other, I need space. I remember you saying that to me. I remember me saying that to you.
Mm.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I feel like when you can tell a friend with things without feeling of offending or upsetting them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Um yeah, I guess we talked a little bit, or about, or uh, I think you mentioned that the purpose of this talk was to explore something you found interesting, and me too, I guess, in relating to Verveke's talk with Bishop.
Bishop Bishop
What's his name?
Maximus. Bishop
Maximus.
Maximus.
Yeah. And you were saying something regarding that, uh, when you
Mhm.
when you suggested that we should meet and talk again. So
Yeah,
I'm curious what your kind of, what drew your attention.
yes, yes, exactly. Attention. Uh, um, I was drawn to a segment of the talk. I think it was between minutes 26 to 38 for those that want to watch the second meeting between Bishop Maximus and Vervaeke, part two, the second time they met. Um, and that would be in February 2023. Uh, they, During those 12 minutes, they really focus on attention as something related to agape and care. Our attention is points towards things that we care for, Uh, um, and I realize that this interests me. There are other thinkers that mention this,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've been affected by the hectic, fast pace of life of Western society all my life, and just to stop and talk to you today, or about where is my attention, what do I care about and for at the moment is important. I think in the past I would regard that as a waste of time. It's not the right word, but fast pace of life, and I just go through things I like and things I need to do, but just to stop and because again, things I like and things I need to do. I suppose I'm entering a phase of my life where they are overlapping. If I follow things I love and care for, if I pay attention to where my attention is going, then my business improves, my happiness improves, my family relationship improves, my friendship improves. Everything follows from that. So I feel it's so central. And why have I ignored it for so long?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to hear about your exploration and how you relate to your own attention. It's yeah, and what this reminds me of is a book from, I think his name is Eric Fromm, a German guy who talks about having and being mode, and like the just to get to a state of, I think it's crucial that in order to get to the state of being, we have to, as you were saying, stop and notice that we're actually where we are, and because we can always do stuff, I guess. And you were mentioning the Western society and how we are always constantly, if we want to, can be in a doing mode and not noticing what we're actually doing, and or even, and also the possibility that opens up when we can notice what we're noticing. Yeah.
Trusting comes up for me. Trusting where my attention is going.
Yeah. Trusting. Yeah, that what comes up for me saying when you say trusting, that there isn't always me who that knows. It's more than my person. Like, that's how I hear it when you say trusting, that there's something in me that knows where to direct my attention, and I can trust that in a way.
Right. When you mentioned the being mode and having mode from Eric Fromm, combined with what I said about fast pace of life, there's something about things that I should be doing in the having mode. I should be working hard. I should be earning money. Freud, I guess, would have called it the ego. Or, but with trusting when my attention is going, I'm not gonna allow self-doubt to say, I'm wasting my time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because the should often comes from a thought that we think we should do something.
Mm.
And I want to throw in this book I'm reading that might be helpful right now. It's a book called Focusing, and it's some guy who what's his name? The author is Gendlin,
Gambling, yes.
uh, and he's exploring what he called the felt sense, the embodied felt sense of, like, it's, and I guess that's how we can get more in the being mode and in the richness of, as you were saying in the beginning, just stop and notice and focus on internally what's going on inside my body, because as we know, the like the body knows so much more than we can think or come to with exploring our own thoughts and ideas about something.
Mm.
And the felt sense is going on and on about the felt sense, and he has different examples, but it takes the whole, like, the shouldness of what we think we should do into an embodied way, and this, so we can really sense into, and maybe at first we can't, like, know, but I'm actually going off because I was trying to say something that occurred for me yesterday. Um, it's a lot of stuff that we're talking about, and I was relating to that, to the attention. I want to go back there and talk about that, uh, because I think that's super interesting. And I was reading this book yesterday, and I had this experience of, I guess I can call it an reorientation, because I was really paying attention to this uh, text, and I was like, it kind of dropped me into a felt sense of meaning, and the felt sense itself was the meaning, and that revealed a lot of my own taste in meaninglessness, at the same time as I felt like I was touching meaning, or my mind touched meaning. And I noticed, like, this whole, my attention was going back and forth, and seeing all the instances of meaninglessness that I keep doing, like,
Can I check my understanding?
yeah.
Your felt sense was meaning itself, and that put you in touch with the idea of meaninglessness. And then
It
you went
was, uh,
like that. And
yeah.
can you summarize these moments?
I think,
Or can you join them?
yeah, I think my attention was on the text, and I was reading and kind of being with the text. And I was very receptible. I was in a deeply receptible state when I read the
Mm-hmm,
text,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because of different things. But so I was really absorbing the text, and suddenly the author said that the felt sense of your body
Mm-hmm,
is meaning itself.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then this kind
Right.
of struck me, and I was like, oh shit, this I've always known that, implicitly known that,
Mm-hmm,
like,
mm-hmm.
what's the word, intuitively known that. But when I read it, it kind of, whoa, it really powerfully struck me. And then I could see, track, my mind was tracking all the different forms and variations of my own doing meaninglessness, things.
Right,
Like,
which is a bit like the doing modes, the having modes.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, wow. Oh shit. I didn't, thank you for connecting that. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. It can be, but
It
it
can
also
be,
can.
yes, yes.
But watching this, my mind was, uh, first I was receptible, and then it struck me, and then I could see my mind was going back and back and back, and and framing, and all the stuff I've been doing that's actually meaningless. It kind of, um, was framed in the distinction of meaning and meaninglessness. So I felt, this like big shift, and I was kind of sitting there afterwards. Oh shit! This, I know this has huge implications about how I move forward and how I relate to different things in my life.
Right,
So
yes. I feel excited to. I'm sharing your excitement, and um, there's a few things that I want to say. I was thinking of for those who are listening, whether we can
mm.
clarify what felt sense means, some sort of an intuition.
Yeah, the felt sense is when you focus inwardly in your bodily experience. So you use your attention, like an analogy is like you having one eye outward. In my example, I had one eye on the text. This is an analogy, of course.
Mhm.
And another one was tracking how I felt inwardly. So you have this felt sense of the text. You're not reading only. So the felt sense is, if you notice some excitement, or and also,
So it's half
maybe,
internal, half external.
yeah, no, it's not exactly necessarily an emotion, but it's usually a release of some sort in your
Right.
body. So something is releasing, uh, in your body, and if you can't think your way through to the point of release, it's impossible, because you have to go down and sense into your body, and then the shift itself is the felt sense. And um
Right. Shift and release. Both of them convey movement. It's interesting. So you're in touch. What I'm hearing is you're in touch with your half. One eye is in touch with your body. Then one eye is engaging with everyday activities that you're attending to. In this case, you're reading the book. And to me, that's what the intuition part.
Yeah.
But we have these insights only if we maintain attuned, if we stay attuned to our experience.
Exactly. And I noticed right now it happened when you restated or summed up what I was saying. I noticed a sigh and a release because I noticed that you're paying attention as we were talking about, and your attention was fine-tuned enough that you can really capture what I was saying. And I noticed that was also a release because you got me.
Right.
And to be gotten. And so you can say that.
Yes, to be gotten is the essence of therapy. But yeah, on one podcast we explore how therapy is life. That's such a bold statement, but for the lack of a better word, life for the lack of a better word. To be gotten, what to be gotten is something different than felt sense, but it seems to be really connected to it, and that shift, that movement, that insight can be even, are we saying that it can be facilitated by engaging in dialogus or therapy or circling with somebody that gets you?
Yeah, yeah, I noticed there's a lot of stuff I wanted to comment on, so I guess I just need to slow down. And I think for me, I think we're moving a little fast because I'm a little under resourced resource today, so
Sure.
I'm just gonna take a pause.
Sure.
There's so many things that can so many perspectives, but I guess to it I think sometimes right now I noticed my attention was all over the place because we're exploring quite a complex thing, and there's so many entry points, so I was kind of being a little disoriented, I think, and I didn't have a clear idea what I should be focusing on. And so the only thing that made sense is to connect and slow down again with the felt sense. that I could kind of slow myself down again and get back to being more grounded, and not spin off and going faster. So I guess that's an exercise in itself, that I noticed with my attention, that I'm starting to run in a way. And yeah, so
It's completely relevant to our chat. Is like I was talking about fast pace of life, and you were saying the pace of this conversation is going too fast, and I would like to reconnect to where my attention really is, rather than losing track, feeling overwhelmed and losing track. And
yeah, it's a good perspective when you said, like, now I notice I want to connect with that two different aspect of trying to do life or be in life, like, and as much as I can do that as a practice, to stop and to listen and to pay attention to what's going on in my system. If I see that as a practice, I also can. It's not something I can. Maybe I start, like, feel like I'm sometimes I come into, I notice a kind of a lecture, like, I could, like, I catch myself when I go into this kind of a teacher mode or something. And I find it horrible. I'm not, like, what am I trying to prove or something, like. And I don't know why that happens, but maybe that I know that this is a podcast or something, that I'm trying to convince somebody or convince myself or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, I was just noticing. Yeah.
good.
Yeah. But as you were saying, the the fast pace of life is can be exciting, and it can be effective, and it can be getting us to places we want to, but it can also be full of tension that we maybe not notice either, and it can drive us to places that we maybe are not wanting to go to also. So yeah.
Yes, when you were asking to slow down and regather, I was questioning the format of our discussion, because we both love dialogues, and I was asked. A part of me felt like, if we were engaging in dialogues, then we would be able to really keep track of where our attention is. And then Jan wouldn't need to ask to slow down. And why am I engaging in this fast-paced conversation, which is exactly what I was saying I don't want to do in life. Another part of me was like, no, I don't want to do always dialogue. Sometimes I want to do more
Mm.
like the ability to sort of move on to a different topic. Because I suppose it's because I thought maybe we get stuck some places I don't want to be stuck. Because, for instance, I have a longing to go back to something tangible. Where is my attention at the moment in life?
Mm.
Um, and so I'm just gonna throw it on the table, and then if we don't go there, we just don't go there.
Yeah, sure.
And really asking myself about the Tenerife trip. Um,
Mm.
I've been living in London for 22 years. It has a long winter. Tenerife is a place where I want to spend the winter at the very least in the next few years. So climate attracts me to the place. The Latin friendliness attracts me to the place. The multicultural aspect. I wouldn't miss London because there's so many nationalities, especially Western nationalities, but the whole lot of them. And the opportunity to create a community of like-minded people and to hold events. So I suppose it's like the idea of a new home or a second home, a nice environment where I can be myself and be a
Yeah.
host.
Yeah. 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 So
My attention
this
has
is
been in creating the opportunity there.
Yeah. I've also thought about it and how that can be done. I think it was a really, I can totally see myself going there for a longer time than just a week. And yeah, I'm not sure where, like, how to talk about this right now in a way.
Me neither. What I said doesn't satisfy me. It was an entry. I thought I'd need to throw it on the table to see if it goes somewhere. It isn't
Yeah,
right now. It isn't. I has to be honest.
it's it's a I think if it's yeah, it's a lot of different thoughts about this topic that I maybe not feel comfortable of discussing right now, but
Yes, of course.
um so but I can maybe say something about the experience of the place instead of all practicalities related to it in the future or something. I find that you were talking about the friendliness, or what caught my attention being there when we were there was definitely the friendliness, um, and the kind of presentness of people who we encountered. They seem to be more present and also a sense of ease in their presentness was felt very inviting to encounter, and that's something it's hard to see and in my everyday here in Norway life. It has a totally different quality and a taste to the friendliness, and you can't, because like as we were saying, everybody seems to be, and also me included from time to time, of course, to being a doing mode, that they're going from A to B to C to D, and so having that other sense of presentness is affording me to have a totally different ease, because we tend to adapt to the environment we're a part of, and that was very tangible. And I remember I commented when we were sitting in this bar, and I suddenly was struck by how slow everything moved around me, and it was like I suddenly I was aware, and my attention was like, what is that my being is sensing? And suddenly, oh, everything is moving slower, and so I could like also connect with people just by looking at them or something like that. And the friendliness, as you were saying, it was very, very nice to be around. That besides from the sun and the temperature was lovely, that sense of ease was something that really caught my attention.
Thank you for responding to this sort of completely different topic that I added. And I'm sort of listening to you, I'm sort of reminded of my original intention to this, which could potentially become a format or may not, this idea. And I'm thinking that the risk is that I confuse you even more by throwing in another aspect, and those who are listening. But I feel like that if I do that, it will give us a chance. It will give you a chance to understand more fully what my idea is with this format. So I gave an example of where my attention has been in my life, personal, more than professional, I guess. With Tenerife, although it's both. But with this podcast, my attention is in this podcast right now, and its format, and it's like it relates to therapy. Yeah, go on.
Okay. So you're just I have to pause you and see if I'm getting you. So you're saying that attention itself is the true line that you want to build the format of your podcast around, that we're exploring where our attention is, and that's the kind of pickup point where we can connect to different things. Is that the kind of your idea?
Absolutely. Sorry about that noise. Yes, okay. I think you're understanding me. You're better than I was understanding myself 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
glad.
Yeah, it's some sort of I think I'm thinking of some sort of a diary or a vlog.
That's very
where
interesting.
We can share where we are that week, that month.
Yeah, that's yeah, I can definitely like that's really interesting, and I like that the attention itself is is the connecting things. And yeah, in this format, I think this is a great idea. And I love to talk about what where my attention is. So that would be great. Definitely. Yeah. Wow. Cool. I like it.
Fantastic. Oh, I feel so excited that I wasn't confusing you there. I was afraid I would,
No,
something different.
I was confused at first, but then now that I'm getting it, is more clear because I really had to kind of get my attention to where your attention was. So I had to really like dig deep in order to go back to the trip we had. So, but yeah, it was nice to go back, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I just felt that it's if I'm engaging in a format where I say when my attention is,
Mm.
uh, not talking about that trip would have been really incongruent of me, because it's been a huge part of where my attention has been for
Yeah.
months.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense. Uh. Yeah. I guess I notice a part of me that's really eager to kind of to try to talk more about practicalities, um but it's not the right time also, so I'm gonna leave it there. But I it's interesting that you can kind of prepared to it also. For you prepared me for when you said I'm just gonna throw it out there, and that was a good kind of watch out or something. Prepare like, and I guess relating that to attention,
Mm-hmm.
there's something about attention when it's genuine, that usually have or can have a quality of surprise in it, that suddenly my attention is, or I'm aware of my attention and where it's at. And that quality of, I find that really interesting, that quality of surprise in attention that affords or can afford with the right what's the word, receptivity,
Mm-hmm.
that can really struck an insight like I was going on about earlier. And that can totally change my mode from the having mode and going in a fast pace, and suddenly I can be struck that, oh shit, this is actually where I'm at. And it can I think also it can, I remember from yesterday, it creates a kind of break in the pattern of doing. And I find that really interesting, that kind of combination about having, you were saying this earlier, I also think you touched on it, like when we go doing and doing, and but if we have cultivated enough receptivity, we can get struck by something, and we can suddenly be aware of something new, or get some insight in our past or our future, or it can kind of reorient. um, I just find that so deeply fascinating that we can cultivate that receptivity.
Hmm.
And that's really hard to do, to cultivate receptivity. I think if we're always in a doing mode, we have to be in a certain contact with being in order to be receptive, I think. I just find that really fascinating, and it feels very fresh. And
Yes, yes. To nurture the receptiveness. Yes. Um, I listening to you, I had some sort of an insight on our roles. I feel like, I don't know if this is fair, that you, out of us two, uh, you seem to be drawn more actually to the being mode than me, and to the felt sense, and where your attention really is, uh, which would be perfectly honored by a dialogous
mm,
forum. And then that made sense, because I thought, well, given that comparing to Jan, I am more into not just being focusing on what's really happening right now, but also focusing on what would the person watching this video think. Yeah,
mm,
so and also,
mm,
what was my original plan with this podcast? Do I want
mm,
to honor that? It may not necessarily where I am right now, but I am going off where I am right now in order to honor my original idea, and to honor the person that might be listening to the podcast.
mm,
And then I throw these things on the table to you, which may be disjointed from where we were.
mm,
And then you have this, then you're saying fascinating things like attention sometimes is surprise, because I threw that thing on the table, originally confused you,
mm,
but then all of a sudden perhaps it surprised you, and it captured your
mm,
attention. So I'm enjoying how our
mm,
different roles are interacting with each other.
mm. Yeah, thank you for for sharing all that. And I also, yeah, it did, bro. I think you, when you throw like your role is, it is certainly challenging me in order to see how I wouldn't felt that challenged by your you throwing that on the table. And that's really, I felt that it brought me, it was something about it that kind of evoked some more to the notion of attention. So I felt that it was very uh, challenging and also exciting, I guess.
Fantastic.
It was something also that, yeah, you said that your attention is also what other people might think. And I noticed this part of me that was, no, that's not possible to do, or something like, you have no idea what other people will think. So I noticed like being totally disagreed about what you said there. Maybe somebody is saying, or yeah,
Can I clarify? I didn't mean to be liked.
what?
I didn't mean to be
Oh,
liked is a goal. It's
no.
just an awareness of
Mm,
others here.
mm,
And so to
oh,
be completely, I suppose,
mm,
self-absorbed would be an interesting term, because um, it's normally used for people that forget about others.
mm,
So I suppose all I meant was not to be self-absorbed. So to be
oh,
in the moment without forgetting
mm,
that somebody is also watching.
okay.
But definitely not to be like, to change
No,
my behavior in order to be like.
yeah, no, I didn't hear it like that either.
Oh, good.
So it was, yeah, yes.
You were saying, how can you sort of know what other people think? Something like that. Yeah, I wouldn't.
No, of course not. Uh, no. Um,
But there's an audience there, yeah, right? So we don't know what the audience think. They all think different things, feel different things at every given second,
mm,
split second. But
mm.
it's almost like there's a difference between rehearsing and performing in the theater. There is an
Yeah,
audience, right? On performance day, there is an audience.
yeah. Um, I think I'm trying to see what, um, hmm, here's this, um, hmm, it's, I'm curious what that awareness does for your attention.
Yeah, me too. Me too. um, I suppose I'm also aware of the time, and I'm gonna
Mm,
take another risk of throwing the other thing on the table is about this format. So
mm,
why this format on attention?
mm,
Um, uh, uh,
mm,
to me, it's almost like now I'm doing. I taken a break from the groups, a short break, but for
mm,
my standards, not to lead any groups for a couple of months is already a big break.
mm,
Um, I'm a relationship therapist. Uh, I my friends like yourself, I like to engage in dialogues with my
mm,
friends in my personal life. So this podcast on attention for me is I love how these formats, the formats that I'm
mm,
drawn to, these formats where my attention go, as almost like now that I'm not doing groups, I like to
mm,
do this. And it's almost like I find myself experimenting with formats.
mhm,
And this the format that I'm proposing to you today, and this is very much an experiment. I don't know if I will like it, and I don't know if you will like it. Is
mm,
similar to therapy, uh, uh,
mm,
because it's like, where is my attention? Where normally
mm,
to a therapist we mention, oh, where have I been at?
mm.
But it's almost like a therapy, but with an audience.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's a way to frame it. And it's interesting as a format. I think it's and I think it's definitely it's uh, in I'm not sure if you will agree with this, but I'm thinking like
Go on.
what does like I guess I'm reading about it in a way right now in this book of focusing, that maybe this is relevant. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna throw it in there.
Yes.
It's they had an example. They were researching and listening to literally thousands of interviews, recordings of patients coming into therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and they find it. They could start to predict from the initial consultation of therapy. They could start to predict who's gonna succeed in resolving their issues or not. And they find that the people who could relate to their felt sense in their bodies, they could predict would have a positive result of the therapy very early on. And that like that really was amazing for them to discover, because that says something about the majority of people coming into therapy would just continue to feel their bad feelings, and maybe also escalating and not uh, getting more and more stuck, or would have some insight into their issues but not change in any way. And that was all because they had a felt sense that they could turn their attention inwardly
Mm-hmm.
and not and sitting with so
So I
no, I
mentioned
don't.
the format. I mentioned the format
Mm,
being a some
yeah.
sort of me playing around the formats.
Mm,
This is sort of therapy, which I'm very much into because I'm a
yeah.
therapist, uh,
Yeah.
uh, and also I'm into groups and podcasts. And this particular podcast format is some sort of a format with a
Mm,
therapy with an audience.
yeah. I think I was exactly. Thank you. I lose track of where we were at sometimes when I go into the books and what I've just been reading and stuff. It's hard to get back to.
No
So thank
problem.
you. So why I mentioned this was because it related to both the concept of therapy and the attention. Yeah, the vertical attention, the felt sense in the body.
Mm.
And I find that fascinating, that practice of focusing, it's called that focusing or the
Mhm.
felt sense,
Yes.
can act as therapy in every given moment. It's situated in the body, so it doesn't afford only therapy or attention or the ability to be a therapist for ourselves. It can actually transform our lives. It can give us insight that we're not consciously aware of, but we, as you were saying in the beginning, if we stop and slow down, we can start to cultivate that in every given situation. And that's something way beyond therapy in a conventional manner. And the just simply using our attention and direct it downward and just being with that, I find that so I think I find it deeply hopeful for everybody and every relationship, and enriching in a deep way, I guess.
It reminds me of what Father Maximum said in that second discussion with Veki, when he was saying that agape is something completely natural to the individual. So the lack of it is unnatural. So when you are saying that this is therapeutic, is almost like agape is therapeutic. Paying attention is therapeutic, and it should be it's almost like nurturing our sort of natural default ways.
Yeah.
That's why for me, like, therapy is life, as in agape or attention is healthy life.
Yeah. And I think because we live in, I really love that you brought the agape into this perspective, because I think because we are experts and we are being nurtured by having mode in our culture since we were that small, since we were kids, we have to use our attention to reorient ourselves into the being mode, so we can get the meaningfulness of in the being mode, that felt sense is meaning itself. And if we constantly are not noticing that is always available for us, we can I think we can suffer immensely, because we're not doing what we're kind of, that we're not honoring life in a very deep existential level. If we're not honoring that, it's amazing. Like, it sounds like a catchphrase. It's amazing to be alive, or something. Like, that sounds like a bumper sticker, but realizing that this is possible, and I can have a rich sense of life while I'm alive. We're the only creature that can realize that that gift.
Yes. You know what I'm thinking now, and I feel very inspired. I'm thinking of, with this agape, and how important the connection with attention, because being brought up Catholic, this agape, this love, I always felt like, okay, you're gonna, the word altruism, as in generosity, doing things for others,
Yeah.
but sometimes, especially in Catholicism, it could lead to self-neglect. So you do it for others, but you don't do it for yourself. But my parents were more religious than, because they came from a different area of Italy, and they moved to this area which was less religious. And I remember as a child defending my parents, because I could see that the predisposition of innocence and altruism and made sense, because I had a good childhood, but it didn't make sense with society, because society wasn't acting like they were doing. So I started to not to devalue my parents and what they were doing. If I come across somebody like Mother Teresa, who was very much into loving others, I wouldn't value necessarily. And I'm thinking like, okay, you give, but the society is not necessarily giving you back. But now that people like Vervaeke and Father Maximus are saying, actually, this agape isn't that, this Mother Teresa looks so happy, and there's so many people that are giving that look so happy, and they are in touch with us felt sense and sense of flow. That's what I was missing, right? They're not just giving, they're not just being generous, they are in touch with their flow state.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a beautiful story and so capturing of what we were just talking about and yeah, and is I was seeing that you were kind of seeing this out from the outside first, and then you got the meaning and the felt sense of it. Like then you can feel when you're giving, and you can feel generosity. It's not just a thing that you do to be appreciated. You can appreciate the givingness of what you're, and you can have your attention directed in a genuine way instead of like I'm doing this to get something back. But so I just love that you shared that. Was a beautiful.
It's natural. I always thought it's not
Yeah.
natural, and now Father Maximus is reminding me
Mm,
actually that's natural, and
yeah.
not doing it, it's unnatural.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I feel like we're touching into, or like I see this as like um I, first I want to say like to that you have been raised Catholic also makes sense why you so appreciated that talk with Maximus Bishop, and also I felt it's striking how beautiful it is, this agape.
Mm.
I feel like I've not completely grasped what agape is before
Mm.
we're talking about it now, and suddenly it all makes more sense to me what they've been talking about so many times. And so thank you for bringing some more awareness to this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean they can talk about agape for hours, those two, and so it's such a profound uh, mm, way of being that yeah, by no means I feel like I totally grasp it, but today
Mm,
talking to you, I also feel like I grasp it more than before.
mm. And also seeing like in hindsight when I kind of it looks like I'm noticing how respectful they are with each other, and
Yes.
how playful also they become, like, and they're like I think it was the first talk, when the first conversation they had, when they were kind of discerning the differences in the Socratic way of knowing and the Eastern Orthodoxy, and so much convergence in the different perspectives. It was amazing, and I think that also really they were becoming examples in the conversation, and how they related to each other is kind of emphasizing the whole thing, not only conceptually, but how their relationship is when they're being with each other. And that just blew my mind, I guess. And
The
that's why,
humility,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
I mean, between them, they have so many decades of deep studies, but I feel like the humility is, if anything, that hasn't is those decades of deep studies. They did the opposite of inflating the egos. If anything, they seem to have
Yeah.
inflated the humility.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also that, or what occurred to me now when you said that, it was how humility itself is so deeply connected to receptivity. It just like, what's the quality, or what does humility itself afford? It has to be a deep sense of receptivity in listening and getting, and just that creates this resonance. I'm just like going off and off here, but I love that we could connect so to these talks, and this I feel like it was a little like, now I felt right now I feel we could just go on because the resonance is like connecting at so many points.
Yes, yes. Now I feel like the dots are joining, and um, um,
Yeah, sorry, my
yeah,
phone.
no problem. Maybe time to bring it to an end.
Yeah, I think so.
So, Jan, thank you so much for the inspiring talk
Hmm. Thank
and
you
chat.
for reaching out, and I love to do this again, and I just love this format of attention, and as a true line that we can kind of go on walks, and suddenly we're walking together, like.
Yes, yes. I would love to, I really would love to give it a try, given that you do, because like you're saying, it took us 1 hour to sort of start to feel that it's sort of to achieve some sense of flow. And I suspect that the next conversation will be more fluid because we already sort of know what
Yeah,
we are about when we do
yeah,
these formats.
exactly. I find it really inspiring to use attention itself as a true line. I find that very challenging, but also deeply inspiring and exciting. So I also like, yeah, thank you. I really, this was really great.
Thank you, Jan. Have a blessed week.
Yeah, you too.
Take
See you.
care. See you.